Alright, so then, I've actually finally made it onto doing this review, hopefully. I will get up on Friday, today. Alright, so, basically, how this is going to work is I want to review every Ultimate, or every series that came out of the Ultimate Marvel Universe. However, I acknowledge I'm probably not going to be able to do this. I'm going to try, however, so bear that in mind if I do miss one. And whilst in the playlist, these will be sorted into chronological order. At this point, I want to probably want to review every first story arc of each series. So that's Ultimate Spider-Man, then Ultimate X-Men, then Ultimates 1, and then Ultimate Fantastic Four. So, yeah, bear that in mind. Don't worry if you're watching this in playlist form at a later date, or just in general, because hopefully it should be sorted out by then. But yeah, I know I'm skipping over, I think, a couple of issues of Ultimate Team Up, and obviously a couple of volumes of Ultimate Spider-Man come before this. However, I will say where that seems to have been impacted. However, as this is a new series, there's not too much I'm skipping over. But yeah, how I'm going to divide this review up is I'm going to talk about the characters, then the changes I like, the changes I didn't like, then the art, and then I think finally any continuity. I think that's how it is. I will probably put timestamps in the description for your viewing benefits. So yes, I'm going to start this off with characters. Okay, so I acknowledge that already this is not getting off to the best start, but I'm recording this after I've recorded the rest of the review because I feel giving an overview will help you better understand some of the points I make. So, first of all, what's with Ultimate? Ultimate is a separate reality from mainline Marvel continuity, so it's unrelated. That's about as deep as I'm going to get because I'm probably going to do a video on this at some point. So, in this alternate universe, in the Ultimate Universe, the US government has approved the Sentinel program, which basically lets these drones target anyone that's a mutant and wipe them out. Just straight up kill them on the street. And some people like this, some people don't for obvious reasons. However, a mutant terrorist group called the Mutant Supremacy the Mutant Brotherhood of Supremacy, or something along those lines. Sorry, led by Magneto, are thoroughly against this, and the terrorists they attack all over the world, trying to kill people, trying to take over, basically. And so, a man named Charles Xavier recruits several students to a school for mutants, and he basically sends them out as a team to try and change the public's perception on mutants. And he does this. One of the main ways they do this is the president's daughter gets kidnapped by the Brotherhood, and so they get her back. And during all this, craziness ensues. Magneto dispatches the Wolverine, who's this master assassin, kind of urban legend, out to, he says, infiltrate the X-Men and kill them all, because you're the only one who can't get your mind read handily. And so he does this, but he kind of falls for this woman named Jean Grey, and therefore that turns Wolverine over to their side. However, this Cyclops, or Scott Summers, doesn't like this, so he joins the Brotherhood, but then the president sends Sentinels to try and wipe out Magneto and so on. That doesn't work because Magneto's just like, right, fine, you want to try and kill me? I'm going to wipe you all out, America. And so he gets all the Sentinels, he rearranges their circuits, and they go out and attack Washington. The X-Men help defend it, and so on and so forth. And eventually, at the end, Magneto's beaten and the mutant heroes triumph. That's about as in-depth as I want to get, really. If you do want more detail, tell me and I'll do that in future videos so you're more aware of the plot. However, I didn't want this to be a plot focus. I wanted this to really be pros and cons. Alright, so throughout this story, my problem with Professor X is that he acts as more of a plot device than a character, with him just kind of being around at X-Men HQ, what's it called? Oh, Xavier's mansion, and he occasionally either detects a mutant or does something. He's like, oh, team, off you go, and then off they go, and he doesn't really get much to do. And then he's just a bit too convenient at the end. Sorry, I was trying to think of the word there. He just, as I said, throughout he kind of detects mutants and does all sorts. Then at the end, he just shows up and beats Magneto. It's a bit easy and doesn't really give him too much to do. He is written fairly intelligent, but I don't know, something just seems off about him. Like something isn't right with Professor X in this unit. I don't know what it is. He just seems less saintly than we're used to. Maybe I don't know. He's just a bit too controlled in the way he talks to everyone, and yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe this is actually gonna develop into a plot line, but within just this volume, I'm not really sure what's up with that. I was disappointed we didn't really get to find out too much detail on his old relationship with Magneto. That's just kind of passingly mentioned, and I really hope it does get developed a bit more. Also, just some minor things now. I'm not sure how old he is throughout the story, because normally I think of Charles Xavier as older, but he doesn't seem to be in this. I don't know, so I wouldn't put him any more than 30 to 35 at most. And even then, I'm pretty sure it's way less. Also, just one little final thing. He doesn't have books in his library, and I don't get that. It's like, I read too fast for my hands to turn the pages, and I'm like, what? That's not his powers. His power isn't super reading, it's telepathy. Because it's a cool idea of like, oh, I read my favourite author's minds and stuff. It's like, what? No, that doesn't explain why you don't read books. Read a book, man. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's up with that. So I like how at first Wolverine is reinvented as this kind of master assassin who's more of a legend than a thing people know about, who's rarely been seen, and there's only one known image of him from the Gulf War, and it's like, I really like that. It's just kind of cool, and yeah, I enjoy this kind of, or enjoyed reading at first, this kind of reinvention of him as this mysterious assassin who works for Magneto. However, as you read on that, I don't see how Wolverine could stay a master assassin, but I'll get into that. I did like the John Doe airport gag where he flies to a airport to meet with a contact, and because Wolverine has no real name, he's just known as the Wolverine. He's got this placard, like where it's like got the name on it and it says John Doe, which I don't know, made me laugh. He's When he does join the X-Men, my problem is his age makes him stand out quite a bit, especially as he's not the leader. He's like taking orders from an 18-year-old. It's like, really? You look like 30 or 40. not 40. You look like 30 or late 20s. What the hell? Why are you taking orders from this 18-year-old? But fair enough. It's a peculiar choice in the Ultimate Universe. My problem with him though is he's just kind of nasty and unlikable. I don't like him particularly. I don't find anything likable about this reincarnation of Wolverine. I don't know. He's just kind of disgusting towards everyone, and they're always talking about your thoughts. I don't want to be in there, and he takes a pee break during. He's just like, what? No, please stop. He's Another problem is he's obviously there to assassinate the X-Men, but they do nothing about it. It's just like, you murdered all my X-Men in this danger room simulation. That's perfectly normal. Okay then. Also, a really big problem is his sudden love for Jean Grey and his turn to the X-Men's point of view happens way too quickly and just seemingly without reason. At first I thought he was lying and was going to stab him in the back at the end, but no, he turns against Magneto. It's like, oh, what? Okay. Apparently that's normal. What? How? I really didn't get it. It's just 1 second he's willing to murder all the X-Men, and the next he's like, I'm in love with you, Jean Grey. You turned me to your point of view. I'm gonna fight Magneto and kill him. What? And yeah, it's a really big problem of the book that I'll get into later, that it just happens way too fast. It's like 2 or 3 issues. It's like, oh, okay. And it's action heavy, this book. It's not really focused on developing Wolverine's change. Although I did like the kind of hints at his Weapon X origins. I'm excited to see where that goes, and the stuff they talk about, like, oh, we used to like to have fun with his regeneration factor by shooting him, and it's like, that's messed up and nasty and kind of cool. So, yeah, Wolverine does get a lot of focus because he's Wolverine, he's the face of the X-Men. But I don't know, it may just be me, but I feel he shouldn't have been brought in this early to the X-Men. Okay, so Cyclops, he begins already as leader of the team, despite, as I said, Wolverine's seemingly, who's older, more experienced in the field and all sorts, but yeah, he also begins already recruited to the X-Men, so we don't really get to see the formation of the X-Men. It's more just something like, welcome to the X-Men, here's Cyclops and Jean Grey. Oh, I may have liked to have seen their backstory and really Xavier pulling this team together, but we don't get that, which kind of sucks. He also suffers from, it's not a lack of focus on him, because he is in a fair few pages, but he's not really developed in those. It's all action, 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 go, 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 big, boof, we can't focus, go, go, and it's like, really? And yeah, he really suffers for it. Like, he defects from the X-Men way too quickly. I was just like, oh, Jean Grey made out with Wolverine. Oh no, I'm gonna go join the mutant, or the human hate team of murder. See you guys. And I'm not sure if they were trying to go that him and Xavier arranged it, but I didn't find that clear enough. I don't know if I missed something, because the first time reading it, I thought it did. Like, they'd arranged it. But the second time, I don't know, I may have just missed a speech bubble or something, but I didn't feel as much that way. And then the problem is he defects back from the Brotherhood even quicker. It's just kind of like, oh, you're in there. Oh no, no, you're not. Bye. Oh, okay, what? He doesn't get. We don't get to see his worldview developed enough throughout this book, and then problem is, whilst he's in the Brotherhood, he doesn't object to their actions enough whilst he's part of it. We have one scene of him being like, "God damn it, Quicksilver! I told you not to blow up the bombs because you kill people." And it acts more, it reads more like him telling him off than him having this big, like, oh, how could you murder humans? I joined this human hate group for a reason. Oh no, wait. Yeah, it makes him unlikable because of it. It's like, wow, you join these, you join this evil group, and then you don't object to their evil actions enough. You assist them. And yes, he's just far disconnected enough that he didn't actually kill anyone, but come on. He, he assisted in the murder of several people. And then not enough time spent of him in the Brotherhood is my real problem. He he joins it, and he's not really shown too much. It focuses on the X-Men rather than the Brotherhood of Mutants. And the problem with that is I don't know what's happening. What is he doing? Is he leading terrorist attacks now? What? And yeah, and whilst he is in the X-Men and we see him, he's very stoic and doesn't really speak his feelings a lot. We have to be told them by other people, which is like, that sucks. Jean Grey in this is a very weak character. She doesn't really get much development of her own. She feels very much like she's there just to be torn between Wolverine and Cyclops. And ooh, who will she fall in love with? Find out tonight on the X-Men. Or sorry, the Ultimate X-Men. And the problem is, she seems to fall for Wolverine for no apparent reason. The comic even acknowledges this, and maybe she seems. I really don't know. Like, the book even, she literally says, I don't know why I find you attractive. It's like, you're acknowledging the problem, book, but it's still a problem. Accepting you have it as a problem doesn't count as fixing it. It just makes you self-aware. And yeah, that doesn't help in this situation. Like, it, she just seems far too easily impressed because she's something like, ooh, Wolverine, and starts making out with him, and then they sleep. I assume they sleep together. It's very highly suggested. Like, come on, they clearly do if you read the book. Um. Also, the only other really thing I can say about her is she seems to peer into the other X-Men's minds a bit too often. It's this weird invasion of privacy where she's reading their thoughts, and it's just kind of like, oh, you're reading my thoughts, and she's like, your body language, I don't even need to read your thoughts, but I still did anyway. And so yeah, it's kind of like, what? No, don't do that. Like, if it was more of a problem, maybe it will be in the other volumes, but I feel it should have been more of a, Jean Grey, you can't just go around reading my mind. Please stop, okay? Just stop it. But no, we don't really get that, and so yeah, she just feels kind of strange because it's yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Storm doesn't get a lot of development in this series, and she just kind of flip flops between hating the humans and Professor X sometimes for like risking them for the humans, but still sticks around for some reason that I didn't really understand. And yeah, she kind of has the possibility of a relationship with Colossus being hinted at, but that we only know about that through Jean Grey's mind reading, which once again ties into this book's problem of it shows but it doesn't tell. No, sorry, it tells but it doesn't show. I got that in completely wrong order. The problem is, it tells us everything. It doesn't show us. It's like, oh yeah, thanks Jean Grey for mind reading and helping us know that, which really, really irritates me. Colossus gets pretty much literally almost nothing to do. He punches some stuff, he kind of shows off his powers. Beast's thoughts kind of hint that maybe Storm likes him, but yeah, him as a character gets no development. His action scene is or scenes are cool, but I know nothing about him before, during, or after the well, obviously after, but before or during the book. It's yeah, his life before the X-Men, and yeah, he's really kind of just pushed to the background and really ignored. Beast is slightly more fortunate than the other members, or some of the other members, in terms of development, because we get some cool, albeit kind of typical backstory on his parents' attitudes towards him. We get a bit more of an example of the kind of discrimination mutants face. However, him dying, which I didn't believe for a second, and then for getting blue hair, it seemed kind of quick and just out of nowhere. It's just, oh, okay, that's happening. And so, yeah, and it really shows how little I know about these characters when Jean just kind of reads his mind and goes, oh, you like Storm? It's like, couldn't we have found that out slightly more organically through the characters and his interactions with Storm and so on? And he seems to have this jealousy towards Colossus, but once again, we don't get to see that. It's just Jean Grey reads his mind, and boom, now we know that. It's like that's a really, in my opinion, kind of sloppy way to handle exposition. It's just like, yeah, that happened, and really, though, I just kind of wanted to feel these characters out, fill these characters' kind of personalities and emotions out a bit more in terms of what we learn about them. But yeah, Beast is my primary example of where I'd have really liked that with a character who already got development. Iceman joins the team later on and gets very little development or anything to really do. Yeah, not too much to say here. The only thing I will say is I liked the scene where we got to see people react to him, like when the X-Men defeat a Sentinel at one point, and we get to see people react, and you expect it to be positive, but instead they throw a bottle at Iceman and crack his head open, and yeah, it's interesting. That was cool to see. Magneto in this is reinvented as more of a villain than someone you can see the view of, than which is what the traditional Magneto is. It's like, I can see what you're trying to do, or what he classically is. He's not always like that, but classically normal Magneto's more of a, oh, you get where he's coming from. Whereas this Magneto is just a straight up villain. He despises humans and anyone that supports them. This means Xavier and the X-Men. And yeah, I actually don't mind this change. I'll get into that in a bit, but not sure his age makes sense, as he was a child during World War II, it says here, and if this is set around the timeline of the other Ultimate books, that's about 2000 and it's some point between 2000 and 2002, I think. So yeah, I'm not sure his age makes sense. I thought as the Ultimate Universe is an update of characters' backstories. and so on to make them more modern, usually. I would have liked to have seen Magneto updated more. Like, we get to see him in a new conflict. Like, rather than the Holocaust, we could find another conflict that resulted in a lot of civilians killed, and you could tie him into that somehow. I'm not sure of one it could be, but that's just off my top of my head. I'm sure you could find something like, I don't know, because he seems to hate America. He could have been he could have been a baby during Vietnam, and his family could have been. I don't know. That's just me spitballing. He does get some cool scenes, like he kills someone that fails him. Although, well, I'll explain a bit more. He does this really menacing scene where he pulls the pacemaker out of this guy he had hired to buy him a nuke, which leaves the question of why he wanted to buy a nuke or get a nuke rather than, couldn't he use his powers to steal one? Like he could grab a missile out of a silo? No. If he really wanted a nuke, it just sounds like, oh, drat, can't get a nuke. Rather than the, drat, my plan has been foiled. It should be. Sorry, my chair's really creaky. This problem is with hit. Why don't you use your powers? That problem's further illustrated when he randomly at the end he gets all the Sentinels and they attack Washington, and then he just randomly manages to activate every nuke in the world to try and nuke the world, and it's like, what? It feels like this really cheap way of trying to raise the stakes at the end, although the stakes are already pretty high. He's trying to murder the president and all of America, but it's like, what? First of all, his powers are strong enough that he can, if not the world, it may just be America, but even then, if you can activate every nuclear missile and prep them to fire, like, I'm gonna quickly try and look that as I speak, but if his powers are that strong, like, that is absurd. Like, come on. I mean, holy crap. Let me see. Yeah, it says here, global nuke, something to do with nukes. If not the world, then just America. But even then, that is absurdly powerful, and he doesn't seem to display this at any point. So, yeah. Also, couldn't they just disarm the nukes with like the abort codes? You know, that would work. Sorry, Magneto, plans foiled. We disarmed all the nukes. Drat, I've been foiled yet again. It's really weird, and I just didn't understand that part of it particularly. Scarlet Witch doesn't really get much to do. See, first of all, for some reason, she seemingly isn't disliked by her father, or at least not to the degree that Quicksilver is. And therefore, I don't really know why she would turn against her father. Or alternatively join him. I don't know much about her. She's just kind of there, and pew, pew, magic. Oh, sorry, probability fields. But yeah, I really didn't get that. And once again, Magneto somehow knows she likes Cyclops and tells him that, which, once again, we don't get to see this full character interaction. Although Magneto doesn't even have the excuse of being able to read minds, he just somehow can know this. Quicksilver, however, does get more of an arc than his sister in terms of him eventually standing up to his father, which is Magneto. However, we don't see enough of his father's dislike for him, really, to feel his struggle. We get one or two scenes, which is a lot for this book, but in general, I don't think it's enough. And then that makes his switch at the end really sudden, especially as he was the one that always killed humans during the attacks. This is where the problem is. He clearly hates humans. So why does he have a problem with Magneto trying to wipe him out? He sets off the bombs. They even say it themselves. I it seems such a muddled character view. I didn't understand that at all. And so yeah, that was really weird that the two of them both switched at the end. Maybe it would have been cool if Scarlet Witch turned to the X-Men, but Quicksilver didn't, or something like that, some kind of sibling divide, but no, we didn't get any of that. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about from the normal Marvel Universe to the Ultimate Marvel Universe, the changes to characters, events, whatever, that I I liked in this. This doesn't mean I prefer them to the normal Marvel Universe. This just means, as a reinvention, I appreciated it. So, firstly, I really like the Magneto and Professor X dynamic in this. So, it's one of the few things of this series to undergo a full and total overhaul. Gone is the friends on opposite ends of the moral spectrum kind of relationship they have in the normal Marvel universe and the movies. And now they're friends, formerly now turned mortal enemies. This means that they were friends once, but now they're not. Um, and so what I really liked about it was, instead of mirroring Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King's ideals, which is something people often talk about the Marvel Universe doing, where Professor X is basically Martin Luther King and Magneto is Malcolm X. I like that in the Ultimate version, it mirrors the personal relationship of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. This is where, if we take Magneto, Malcolm X, Professor X, that's confusing, Professor X, Martin Luther King, um, Malcolm X really didn't like Malcolm Luther King. Malcolm X didn't like Martin Luther King. He viewed him as a sympathizer of what they were fighting against, and I like how Magneto has the same thing with Professor X. He hates him because he sympathizes with the humans, and therefore, like Martin Luther King viewed Malcolm X as an extremist, Professor X views Magneto as an extremist who's like, "Whoa, you're not helping things." And I really like that. It makes it totally different from the normal Marvel universe. And I'll be interested to see if that works in the long run, or it ends up boiling down to being a bit boring. Um, I like, within the story, the reason for the code names, which is that, like, what I always thought about. I always like this idea. I've kind of played around with a bit, and it was nice to read it in this and go, oh, I've had that idea where they, the they've changed, like, to Storm, Cyclops, Wolverine, and all of that, because before it was their human given name, and now this is their mutant name. I really like that. However, it is mishandled, which I'll get into. I like the idea of the Sentinels already being in use. I like starting in a universe where it's like, ah, crap, Sentinels already, which is like the big bad, or one of the big bads that the X-Men face. It's like, oh snap, that's like having the death squads on every corner, basically hunting you down constantly. Um, I like the idea of the Ultimate Marvel Universe being very strongly anti-mutant to begin with. I like this. I like the idea that we are in a universe where people despise mutants already. I really like that. Um, I like the changing of the name of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants to the Brotherhood of Mutant Supremacy, because who would call themselves evil? It literally has evil in the title. It's just, It's a silly comic book thing that I don't know. I like the change of the name in Ultimate. Um, I like Furthermore, I like the idea of reimagining the Brotherhood to this mutant supremacist terrorist group where they're just like, screw humans, we're gonna blow you all up. And it gives people a reason to actually fear mutants. Like, oh crap, they're trying to blow us up. Oh my word, what? No. It really works, and I really liked that. And it was a cool place to start, and I like. It's a shame it's not built off much, but I like this opening. We get a kind of statement from um, where is it? Oh, it's here. It's from Magneto, and he's very interesting in the way he speaks. Obviously, he calls mutants Homo superior rather than Homo sapien. Um, and I like the phrase he uses where he's kind of this terrorist figure that's giving statements after each attack to the world. I like that, and I like this statement of, but your replacements grow impatient, he says to the humans, and that's on the back of the book, and because when I got it, I was like, oh, this is going to be some kind of, I didn't know the word. I don't know the word for it, but some kind of like, ooh, we're the best. Your replacements, gosh, humans. Whereas I like that. That's what the villains are saying. I really like that as like his phrase of your replacements grow impatient. I don't know. It was just kind of cool. Um. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the changes that I actually really liked in this. I don't like how much attention is drawn to the name things. There's too much laughing at, oh, I'm called Beast, isn't that silly? Rather than just embracing it. Also, the fact that they are given them, rather than coming up with them on their own, does feel a bit degrading. Like being told, you're going to be called Beast from now on. It's like, really? Couldn't you have come up with that on their own, and that would have removed all the silly, oh, we know we're in a silly comic book thing that I really didn't care for. The main thing I have a problem with is everyone, minus Wolverine, which is weird, being a teenager on the main team. I prefer the X-Men having, their main team at least, having a wider range of ages, whereas I don't know what was just, if perhaps if they had all been teenagers and not had Wolverine in there, I would have preferred that. But the fact Wolverine is in there, I just didn't care for it. It seems that's the direction the Ultimate Universe is taking, where Peter Parker's a teenager and now all the X-Men are teenagers. But bearing in mind the Ultimate Universe doesn't age particularly, I don't care to see these characters remain teenagers forever. Peter Parker, I'm fine with for his publication, him to remain a teenager. I'm fine with that. But the X-Men, knowing they're not going to age up, I don't care particularly for that. Uh, the other change, the costumes are just black leather. They do have yellow, which is nice, and I think yeah, they are actually, which is kind of a shame. It's just kind of. Well, I don't care for the black leather. Ooh, aren't we cool? I really love the X-Men's yellow and blue costumes because that's their costumes rather than this boring black leather. However, I get they want to visually distinguish themselves from the Ultimate Universe, but the Ultimate from the normal Marvel Universe, but I feel there could have been a better way. Um, I also don't like this change to the original team. I I don't know. They rather than just being a team, it's definitely trying to be. Oh look, it's all the major Marvel characters on the team, or all the major X-Men characters. You've got Wolverine, you've got Storm, you've got. I don't know. I didn't care for that, but I'll get more into that in terms of the plot. So, just generally about the art inside thankfully isn't the same as the cover, which I really hate because it's got this weird CGI look to it. It may just be the whatever filter or whatever they've put over it, but it looks CGI, and I hate CGI art in comics. I really can't stand it. Like, no, I don't know quite how artists render it. I mean, like, proper. Yeah, I just really don't like that. The art conveys the action well. It's nice and fluid and nice to look at. For example, there's at one point during a car chase, you've got the landscape, but bits of the landscape are each broken into a panel in order to show a car moving through it, and that's cool. It's nice and colourful, minus the costumes, or the X-Men's costumes, ironically. A lot of the other costumes are very bright. But yeah, I like that. I love my comic books being as bright and colourful as possible, or at least this kind of thing, where it's this big action. Looking at it, it's got this really nice, vibrant colour that pops out at you and makes it a lot easier to read. It also fits with Ultimate Spider-Man's art style quite a bit, which is good. It gives it this nice feeling of cohesion between it and the Ultimate Spider-Man series. And so, yeah, it just makes the Ultimate Universe feel more like a universe, considering that. I don't know if the mutant thing does fit. I'll get into that. I'm not even sure if I'll get into that now. I might not get into that until my Ultimates 1 review, but yeah, I'll have a conversation about that there, as this review's already really long. In terms of just redesigns of characters, I like the Blackbird being modernised to a stealth bomber rather than a Blackbird. That's really it's cool, and it's got this nice green neon thing to it. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it's cool. In terms of costumes, Scarlet Witch's boots look really weird. I'm not sure what it is, but something about them just seems off. I don't know. They've got these really weird rings to them. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I like Magneto's costume. It's got this nice deep red to it and looks kind of cool. Toad, what little we see of him, he's this green guy. It's kind of weird, but fair enough. I don't know. Jean Grey's had a iconic long red hair change to a shorter red hair. Once again, I'm fine with that. It visually distinguishes her from the normal Jean Grey. Aside from that, there's not too much to say in terms of redesigns. They're pretty similar, just most of them have been made younger. And yeah, I already spoke about that, so I won't get into that. Although, actually, I will say quickly, it's nice that the Sentinels are purple in this. I was really worried they were going to be a dull grey, but no, they're the nice purple design, which for some reason the movie couldn't get, but this could. So my overall thoughts are, Volume 1 tries to juggle too many plot lines, just to kind of show you all the ones it tries to juggle. The X-Men, the first class of them forming, the Sentinel program being launched, and so on. Iceman being saved and recruited, Beast dying, then being Blue, Jean Grey and Wolverine, and Cyclops love triangle. Cyclops leaving the X-Men, then joining the Brotherhood, then rejoining the X-Men, Wolverine infiltrating the X-Men, then being turned to their point of view, Weapon X trying to recover Wolverine, X-Men saving the President's daughter, Magneto trying to kill everyone, and then they're trying to have character relationship stuff throughout all of this, and it doesn't work. There's too much. I get it wants to be a very action-heavy book, however, I don't know or care about any of these characters yet. I feel it really should have been 2 volumes, like Ultimates 1, and although I don't want to talk about Ultimates 1 too much yet, but I feel we should have had a first volume that, whilst not the most exciting, really lets me get to know the characters. That way the second one we can just boom, 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 straight action, explosions, crazy stuff. That doesn't mean volume 1 can have no action, but as this is a new incarnation of the team, I really need to know them, which I don't. It's just too much. I don't know. Related point, I'm glad they only did hint at Xavier and Magneto's past, because there was so much else going on. So I really hope that gets developed in further volumes. Another overall thing is the President of America, who it says is Bush, but I'm not sure it is, he flip-flops far too easily. So he does the equivalent of if a president literally legally sanctioned the KKK as a government force. Like, go on, hunt them down. And then he approves the X-Men. Then he tries to wipe out the Brotherhood of Mutant Supremacy. Then he disables the Sentinel program. Okay, it's just like, that's such an insanely anti-mutant move with the Sentinels that I don't get how he... I don't know, I feel it would have been more interesting if the president was more strongly anti-mutant. And also, why didn't he try something other than Sentinels to wipe out Magneto? Like, he's a master of magnetism, and you send robots who beats him. What a surprise! Like, nuke the Savage Land if they find out where it is. Not even with a missile, because Magneto could throw that back, obviously. Just like a briefcase nuke, like send a jeep over to right next to the Savage Land. Boom, nuke. Goodbye, Magneto. Have fun. Have fun. Bye. Have fun being nuked. But no, apparently they I don't know why they don't do that. Or use something fire related, I don't know, drop napalm or whatever. I don't know, just... Yeah, that seemed like a really dumb move. Related point to this is, I feel the perception of people towards certain mutants is turning too fast. Since this is only volume 1 and already we've got the president seeming to be cool with the X-Men. Which I think happens too quick. I personally would have preferred it if we got a bit more time before people started liking mutants. I would really prefer it if we just got this gradual chipping away as, changes in public perception happen slowly, and it's just too sudden. It's like, oh, there we go. I like mutants now. Yeah, I could have done without that. So, in terms of continuity errors, there's only two main ones. Firstly, the president. Okay, on the internet, the president is labelled as being President Bush in this. However, I don't think the one drawn here looks like George Bush, especially compared to the portrayal of him in the Ultimates. He looks like George Bush there. Here, I don't think he does. So it's minor, but yeah, it kind of makes it look like the President of America changes between books. The second continuity error is Magneto's memory. Magneto refers to remembering being a child during the Holocaust and having one of his living relatives killed during it in this series. However, this will go on to be contradicted in Ultimate Origins. However, I won't get into that yet, though, as I don't want to jump ahead too much, because that will just confuse you. So yeah, in conclusion now, as I just want to finish up now, would I recommend Ultimate X-Men Volume 1, The Tomorrow People? You know what? Despite all my misgivings, I would recommend giving it a read, because as of Volume 1, you can read this and it will really give you an idea of whether you want to to read Ultimate, or Ultimate X-Men specifically or not. It's not as good. I'm just going to go up and say this. It is the weakest of the first batch of series in terms of this Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimates, and Ultimate Fantastic Four. This is definitely the weakest, or at least opening it is. It may get better. That's why I'm doing these reviews. So, yeah, I would recommend giving it a read, especially if you like the movies, because this has a lot of similarities to the movies. The movies clearly drew a lot more from this than the main Marvel universe. Whether that's for better or worse is up to you. But yeah, I would recommend trying it. I hope you enjoyed this review, as Jesus, this looks like it's going to be an hour at the rate I'm going. So I don't think I'll be able to do one of these a week. Not all of them will be as long as this. This was me trying out the formula. If you want me to change anything, if you have any feedback at all, please let me know, because I want these reviews to be as concise and good as possible. I literally want it to be a journey through the Ultimate Universe you take with me. So yeah, and of course, if you're watching this after I've done a ton of reviews, sorry, but this isn't where you'd expect it in the playlist. So yeah, I really hope you did enjoy this. Huge thanks to the Marvel Wiki, because I don't own any of these images. These are all from the Marvel Wiki, and it's a really useful website if you want to get caught up on continuity or anything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please do, like, if you're a comic fan, share this with non-comic fans, maybe, see if it takes their interest. But yeah, thank you for taking the time to watch all of this, because, wow, this looks like a long video.